Welcome to the month of December, and we're starting it off with another winter storm. Here to provide all the latest information that we have on this. After we speak on this storm, we'll speak a little bit on another winter weather risk as we get towards the end of this week into this weekend. There has been some changes with that. After we speak on that, we'll move a little bit deeper into the month of December and go over the latest information that we have as far as the pattern and how it could possibly, most likely, I would say, continue to support winter weather chances as we move deeper into the month. My name is Mitch. Good Monday morning. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having a wonderful start to your new week. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please drop it in the comments below. So we're kick-starting December with more snow and just ice and winter weather across the middle of the country. Some of this might not be hitting the ground, but this is the latest radar we got. We definitely have some sleet, a little bit of snow down here in Oklahoma. The radar is filling in pretty nicely. So if you've been tuning in, we mentioned a little bit of a gap of moisture between southern stream energy and northern stream energy. Well, that's filling in pretty well. So let me know what you're seeing across the middle of the country. We got some rain down here, a big rainstorm on the way for areas of the southeast and the deep south, which is much needed. We got some lake effect snows ongoing across the Great Lakes region, and our system from this weekend is now moving out of the picture. So this is the big storyline here. Is this going to turn into a much more significant storm system? I think it will as it moves into areas of the Northeast. Let's continue to move forward. The latest in watches, warnings, and advisories. These purple areas, these purple counties, this is winter weather advisory. So we don't have any winter storm warnings or anything like that. We got a winter weather advisory now in Oklahoma City, Tulsa for what's going on right now. We got them in Kansas City, Topeka, into northern areas of Missouri, southern areas of Iowa, and the northern half of Illinois. It does include Chicago, Peoria, Bloomington. We got winter weather advisories in Little Rock down to Hot Springs, Jonesboro, areas of the boot of Missouri, even western sections of Tennessee like Jackson, Dyersburg. We got winter weather advisories across western and northern Kentucky, pretty much across a good chunk of the Midwest, almost every county. Well, pretty much every county, it looks like, in Indiana has a winter weather advisory. Most counties in Ohio, winter weather advisories. And we do have them all the way down here into the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. And then the game changes up a little bit. You see this teal color? This is winter storm watches. Now, I do think we'll have an upgrade to winter storm warnings in some of these areas, so it'll show up in the pink instead of the teal. So I think they're just waiting to see more model data and just getting a little bit closer as confidence increases one way or the other. But we do have these winter storm watches up, and so we'll see what happens with that. Let's go over the latest with model data. We're going to go over the HRRR model, which is a short-range model, and I think it's going to do pretty well in this situation. Both the NAM and the HRRR model are not doing that great, though, with what's happening right now. So we only have what we have, right? So we're just going to utilize this model. Now, if you're in Central Time, you see this timestamp up here, back it up an hour. So we're going to call this lunchtime today. If you're in Eastern Time, then the timeline is correct up here. So as we are moving to about midday, snow will start to move in the southern areas of Iowa, if it hasn't already, because it could be a little ahead of schedule, especially based off what we're seeing on radar. Northern Missouri getting some snow. Springfield looks like we're getting a wintry mix. Could start out as snow. Let me know what you see down here in this area. And then as we start to get into around dinner time tonight, rush hour, heading home from work, snow starts to move into Chicago as far north as maybe Green Bay, Madison, Milwaukee. Starts to move out of Iowa. Could be a snowy commute home in St. Louis. Really festive with, I think you guys recorded 6 inches of snow in St. Louis from this last winter storm at the airport. Let me know if that's correct. I think that's what I read somewhere. But all snow for most of Illinois, starting to move into Indiana. This is around 5 to 6 o'clock. And as you can tell, there is going to be a wintry mix, even though it just shows mainly green down here in Arkansas. But there is going to be a little bit of freezing rain and sleet. There are winter weather advisories up for a reason, so be aware of this. But the further north you get in Arkansas and southern Missouri, it could stay more of a wintry mix of ice and sleet for a little bit longer. And as we continue to move this forward, we take it to about late evening, 10, 11 o'clock tonight. It's all snow for most of Indiana. It's starting to move out of Illinois. A little stripe of snow here in southeastern areas of Missouri. And then we start to get some action down here in northern Kentucky, western Kentucky. It's a big question mark. Kentucky is definitely a big question mark here. Solid, heavy, wintry mix, because the further south you get, the heavier this moisture gets. But, of course, the more you deal with warm air, right? But you see here, down here, and I've said that like 5 times I've done said that like in the last 5 videos. But anyways, a heavy wintry mix, or it could be all heavy wet snow down here in western to northern areas of Kentucky. And as we move forward, we get to about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's snowing up in Detroit, still snowing for most of Ohio. But look at Lexington, Kentucky, switching to heavy, heavy wet snow. Even Nashville stays rain most of the time, but could switch to some sleet and maybe have a period of snow late tonight, well after midnight. And you see the wintry mix of ice, freezing rain, little bit of sleet in the purple in areas of the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. Could be all snow, could start out as all snow in like Charleston. Maybe. We'll see what happens, but definitely going to get more so just rain and not much winter weather. But you see snow moving into Pittsburgh, northern areas of West Virginia. Snow's moving into PA, the southern tier of New York. And this is what I'm talking about. Down here in the northern counties of Tennessee, this is about 4 to 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. You know, if you're a big winter weather geek and fan like me, then maybe wake up a couple hours early tomorrow in Nashville. You could see some flakes flying around. Maybe a surprise dusting. I could see it happening. We'll go over the forecast for snow here in a second. But, you know, central to northern Kentucky, all snow. And I'm telling you, this could be a back-end almost deformation band, which is a band of really heavy snow. We'll dive deeper into that term when we need to. But right now, we'll just say a band of heavy snow it could happen in the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning in Kentucky. Could start out with some really heavy snow in areas of northern VA. Definitely northern West Virginia, areas of central and western Maryland. Look at all this snow starting to move into areas of PA. And then we move this forward here. Let's just go on and kind of bring it up here. Still dealing with some nasty wintry weather, kind of a nasty wintry mix down here in Charlottesville, Lynchburg, even Roanoke. How long will you stay ice before switching to rain? Even shows some snow. It's trying to switch to snow in the northern Cumberland Plateau here and in areas of Tennessee as we're moving into tomorrow morning. But the big story happens here in the Northeast where we could have a major winter storm. It's kind of right on the criteria. Everybody's criteria for a major winter storm is certainly different, but this is going to bring a stripe of significant snowfall. And I really think the NAM had the best idea of this right out the gate. Shows all rain for New York City up to Boston, and I really think that's going to be the case, but could start out as a brief wintry mix or just all snow in both of these areas. It's all rain down here in Baltimore, Washington, D.C. by lunchtime tomorrow, but you can see the blue. This is heavy, heavy snow. Harrisburg, Scranton getting snow, all of New York except New York City just about getting snow. The Poconos getting heavy wet snow, Berkshires, Catskills. But, you know, if you're tucked into extreme southern areas of southern New England, you're probably going to struggle with a rain-snow mix. And then this thing really begins to wrap up, and it could get very heavy from kind of central Mass up through areas of New Hampshire into down east areas of Maine. And we just got to figure it out as that low pressure really begins to deepen. The precipitation, of course, gets heavier. So what about the latest with snowfall totals? We'll start off west to east. This is a now thing for Nebraska, but I will show it. We'll just look at pivotal weather here. We're going for a few inches of snow here in the southern areas of the state, but not a whole lot, not a big event. We drop it down here into Kansas. This is a now thing also, but grand totals, they're going for just a stripe of 1 to 3 inches of snow. Kansas City could get a couple inches of snow before we're all said and done. Let me know what you end up getting in this area. And then we drop it down to Oklahoma City. I'm sorry, Oklahoma. Oklahoma City is a city, not a state. Anyways, this is a now thing, but could get a dusting of snow in the northeastern areas of the state. We'll see what happens. And a little bit of freezing rain is possible. I have no idea. Let me guess. Yes, it signed me out. Just love when it does that. So we're going to have to go back to this, that. You know, that's pretty sad it does that. It's just a absolute flow killer. Little bit of a glaze of freezing rain in the eastern areas of Oklahoma. And then we move up into Iowa, and then we'll move it back south. About 2 inches of snow is what they're forecasting in Des Moines. But once you get south, a few more inches as possible. So a good stripe of 2 to 4 inches of snow in the southern counties of Iowa. Dubuque, maybe an inch or two. Davenport, 3 to 4 inches of snow. Get my face out of the way. Burlington, 3 to 4 inches of snow or so. And then we knock it down into Missouri. The northern areas is good for anywhere from as much as, I would say, 2 to 5 inches of snow. There could be a jackpot area up here, snow falling on top of more snow. I know the northeastern sections of the state of Missouri got hammered. I think you overachieved a little bit. Can't wait to read over the comments from the last couple of days to hear about how much snow you guys got with the snowstorm over the weekend. But Columbia, 1 to 2 inches of snow. St. Louis, 1 to 2. And you get into the southern areas of Missouri, and we're going to try to show you the ice graphic. And yes, it did not sign me out. A glaze of ice is possible, not much in southern areas of Missouri. Arkansas, up here in the Ozarks, northern areas of the state, maybe a touch of snow is starting to move in now. But it's really the freezing rain that's the big deal in this area. Little Rock going for a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice. Hot Springs maybe a 1/10 of an inch. There's a highlighted area here though where you could get a 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain. So it really likes this area, but there's probably going to be an area kind of right into here where we get a sleet mix too. So maybe a glaze of sleet sort of in central to north central, even northern areas of Arkansas. So you do have those winter weather advisories up for a reason. Now Kentucky, this is that wild card state. If there's going to be somebody that gets more snow than what's forecast, it's going to be for someone in Kentucky. Right now, Evansville is going for about an inch of wet snow. Louisville, inch or two. Cincinnati, about 3 inches. Lexington, about an inch. I could see somebody getting more. Nashville, not calling for any snow, but Clarksville, a 1/10 of an inch of snow. That's just enough to make a little glaze of white outside. But listen, I'm calling it now. Somebody's going to get more snow than what's being forecast in this area. Okay, and we do look at the forecast for ice, but it's not much. Little bit of a glaze up here. Somebody could sneak and get a 1/10 of an inch of ice kind of east of Lexington, right where you get close to West Virginia and near Huntington. Paducah, maybe a very, very thin glaze. You won't even notice it if that's actually what happens here. But we move it into Illinois, Indiana. This is where you could get notable snowfall accumulation. Peoria, around 4 inches of snow. Same thing in Galesburg. Springfield, 2 inches. Champaign, 2 inches. Chicago, 2 to 3. This will be snow falling on top of more snow. It's just a winter wonderland up here to start your month of December. Indianapolis, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Fort Wayne, kind of the same thing. A little bit more in this area here in northwestern areas of the state. And Bloomington, 2 to 3 inches of snow is in the forecast. Not expecting really any ice down here. We're over here. Wisconsin, southern areas of the state, 1 to 2 inches of snow is possible. Not a whole lot. Maybe around an inch or less in Milwaukee. And then we look at lower Michigan, a little bit of lake effect snow ongoing right now. We'll add more snow. And then we got kind of the northern end of this winter weather event that will kind of make it into lower areas of Michigan. But Detroit, 1 to 2 inches of more snow. Kalamazoo, 1 to 2. This is this highlighted purple area. Muskegon, I think is how you say it, 8 to 9 inches of snow. This is kind of from the lake effect stuff ongoing right now also. And Ohio, stripe of accumulating snow on the way. Anywhere from 2 to as much as 5 inches of snow, depending on where you live. Columbus, 3 to 4. Cleveland, same thing. It's about the same kind of general thing in this area. Pause the screen if you need to. Toledo, a little less, 2 to 3. But a nice snowfall on the way. Nothing high impact, enough to pump out winter weather advisories, but nothing too crazy. Now we're going to have to switch into our National Weather Service graphics here. They've actually lessened the totals for ice here in western North Carolina, but Boone, probably around a 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain is forecast, a little bit more near Mount Mitchell. You bump it up further to the north in areas of Virginia, West Virginia, a few 1/10 of an inch of ice is possible. Well, I wouldn't say a few tenths, a couple 1/10 of an inch of ice is possible in these orange areas. The yellow, probably a 1/10 of an inch of ice or less, but this will be enough to add a glaze. And I do want to note, none of these graphics on any sites or National Weather Service sites shows potential sleet totals, but I want to say there could be a glaze of sleet in here too with all of this. So a little bit of snow is possible in these areas also. Maybe a trace, but I could see a really quick dusting of snow at the onset of this. Now, West Virginia, you could get into more snow, especially in northern areas of the state. Snowshoe, a 1/2 inch to 2 inches. You get up near Wheeling, 2 to 4 inches of snow. Was it Morganton, University of West Virginia area, a couple inches of snow is possible. Clarksburg, 0 to 1 inch. Charleston, not forecasting anything as far as these ice totals. Definitely, it could get over a 1/10 of an inch of ice, a freezing rain. Lewisburg, Snowshoe. And in these yellow areas, just a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice, not a whole lot. Huntington, a 1/10 of an inch though. So it's just going to be a nasty, just classic cold air damming kind of deal in this area. Northern areas of VA, this could be another tricky area. I could see maybe a quick inch or two of wet snow in areas of western central Maryland. Northern areas of Virginia could start off as a brief wintry mix from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore also. But definitely some accumulating snow once you get further west in these higher elevations of West Virginia. in Maryland. But as far as the ice totals, just a thin glaze, nothing too crazy to write home about. And then taking a closer look at my folks here in Pittsburgh and surrounding areas, you guys get gypped and ripped off a lot. They're going for 2 to 4 inches of snow in Pittsburgh. And then you can see other areas also. So definitely a stripe of accumulating snow in this area. Not much ice forecasted for this area, but Central PA State College, 3 to 5 inches of snow. The general theme in this entire area of Central PA is around 2 to as much as 6 inches of snow. A little bit more once you get towards Scranton, 3 to 7. And then we move closer to New Jersey and the Delmarva, Allentown, 1 to 4, Philadelphia, maybe as much as a half an inch, Hazleton, 4 to 7, Harrisburg, 2 to 5, Reading, 1 to 3. And then you get into the Poconos, we could get over a half a foot of snow up here. And Catskills too. And then a closer look at New York City, they've actually did away with the 4/10 of an inch of snow it was showing. So sorry, New York City people in Long Island. I just don't think this is going to be your snow. There's just too much warm air being moved in from that low pressure. Middletown, about a half a foot of snow. Cold Spring, 3 to 4 inches. Danbury, the Connecticut, 2.5 inches of snow. So a little bit of snow once you get into the Connecticut area. A little bit deeper into New York, Buffalo, 1 to 3 inches. Binghamton, 4 to 6. Rochester, 1 to 4. More so the southern tier, Syracuse 2 to 5, Binghamton, there it is again, 4 to 6. And, pause the screen if I'm going too fast. Albany, 3 to 7. A little bit closer look at the Valley region here. And 3 to 7 in Albany. And Hunter, 6 to 10 inches of snow. And then we take a look at southern Mass. All right, some question marks in this area. Kind of the Worcester area. I think someone could get a half a foot of snow. Fitchburg, 4 to 10. So some wide varieties here. 2 to 8 in Springfield, Mass. Pittsfield in the Berkshires, 4 to 9. So, you see this kind of orange color here. This is where we could get well over a half a foot of snow. It's going to be a heavy, wet snow, too. Now, this traced to 7 inches in Boston. I don't know about all that. That's a little bit crazy. Here's kind of a more, let's see if we got a better graphic here. Yeah, so here's more of a pinpoint graphic here that was issued about an hour or so ago. So about 2/10 of an inch in Boston. Here's just better. 3 to 4 inches of snow. I could see that in Worcester there. But a little bit up the road here in the Adirondacks, and this covers Vermont too. Heavy snowfall event for southern areas of Vermont. The Adirondacks itself, a couple inches of wet snow. But just note, this isn't going to be a dry snow. It's going to be a wet snow. So it's going to be heavy, things like that. And to sort of round off this storm for the U.S., this is New Hampshire, this is Maine. There's going to be a stripe of heavy wet snow for central and southern New Hampshire into the down east areas of Maine and everybody in between, where we could get anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of snow. Someone can sneak and get a foot. And just to show you Caribou, there's a sharp cutoff here in the northern areas of Maine, so we'll watch for that. A little bit of love to my folks here in Atlantic, Canada. And let's get this back in motion. It's the latest Euro from the 06Z. And this is the system moving in now. And then here comes the system on the way later tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. And it's actually got too warm for snow in southern areas of Nova Scotia. I mean, you might just get all rain. 977, that's pumping a lot of warm air up against the southern coastline of Nova Scotia. We could get heavier snow now for southern areas of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, some snow, but there might be some more warm air to deal with. And maybe the same thing with, like, on the Avalon Peninsula, areas of Newfoundland. You might be dealing with too much warm air now. It could start out as snow and then go to rain. But whoever is getting snow, it could be a blizzard. And we go over possible snowfall totals from the Euro Ensemble, and this is in centimeters. So anywhere from 10 to as much as 35 centimeters of snow. So in general, some areas could get 8 to as much as a foot. And some areas could get a 1.5 feet of snow. So we just got to see what happens with this. And if we go over the latest as far as wind speeds, let's use the latest Euro. And you guys go off kilometers per hour. So this is max wind gust in kilometers per hour. And certainly could get some very strong wind gust. So be aware of this. I definitely want to watch out for my friends here in Newfoundland. Very strong wind gusts are possible. That's 109 kilometer per hour wind gusts. You got anywhere from 80 to 90 kilometer per hour wind gusts here in southeast Newfoundland. So be aware of that. Now let's try to figure out our next storm. All right, let's get this in motion. This is the latest Euro. We're going to have to move past that. That's the current one. And we get into this week. You see some snow dropping down into the Rockies. Okay, so we're in a Wednesday morning. We're past the storm we just tracked. Then we got a little bit of snow breaking out across areas of the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. A little bit of light snow showing up in southern areas of Kansas. Heavier snow in New Mexico. Can we have a connection of the southern stream and that stream dropping down from the trough? Even into Thursday morning, a little bit of light snow around Amarillo into southwest Oklahoma, and then the storm system kind of heads away. What about the GFS? What is it showing? Same thing, some energy dropping down. You can see it moving into the panhandle of Texas, but most of our energy is trapped down here to the south. There's no connection, no phasing of the energy, so therefore it doesn't look like much. The latest Euro, though, a little bit more aggressive. Speaking of the latest Euro, let's take a look at what it shows to the eastern U.S. Now, when I woke up this morning, it looked like we had some shifts, some changes that favor less of a winter weather chance, but this is the current storm. We're moving past that. Here comes the one. We're moving into Thursday morning. We got a stripe of light snow going on top of more snow. So it's just going to be a wintry week up here. So this is a very thin band of light snow dropping down with some more cold air across the Midwest, Ohio Valley. Is there a connection here? There is not. A little bit of a wintry mix, maybe in the mountains of North Carolina, but altogether, there's not much with that first system. Now, can we have some more moisture showing up? A little bit of cold air damming as we're getting into Friday morning? Absolutely. Here's some moisture trying to move into some colder air. See some pink showing up in the Carolinas. Getting into Friday night. A little bit of ice, not a forecast. We got a cold high that's in place. I don't think it's being modeled correctly, but I do think it'll be moving in and out. So our cold air source kind of gets in place and then it scoots out of place. Sorry, moving this everywhere. And this system does begin to ride up the coast. Shows a wintry mix. This is all freezing rain as we're getting into Saturday morning, and the system tries to ride up the coast. We got a lot going on here. And I think there's a lot of changing in this timeline, in this time frame, but we go out, all the way to about Saturday night, Sunday morning on this model run, and it just looks like there's a lot of question marks. We got another area of energy diving down at the end of the run. So what about the latest GFS? It kind of loses it. It does show some moisture finally kind of coming up as we're getting into Friday evening, but there's not a lot of cold air in place. And then we got another system that flies in after that. So, one thing we're watching is if we do get moisture and it's correctly timed. For example, this is Friday morning. On the latest GFS, you got a 1030 high pressure. This is a cold high being anchored in place by a cold air source to the north. Kind of pumping in this cold high. And the position of it's right over the northeast. So therefore, this creates sort of a cold wedge of air at the surface that comes down. But is there any moisture that's going to head into the area? Okay, it's not a very strong high, and I would argue that the position of it is not the best. But the thing is this thing's moving away as our lower pressure, which is our moisture, moves into the picture. So this is kind of moving out the picture, so we lose our cold air source. And yeah, that's kind of what's happening. I think it's a mixture between we have a moving cold air source that's moving in place, then moving out of place. It's not anchored in place. And then we have kind of poorly timed moisture if you're a winter weather fan. But we'll continue to watch this. This is the latest Euro ensemble for a chance of 1/10 of an inch of ice. And I always have trouble with pivotal weather moving the graphic here. And there's still a 20-25% chance at a 1/10 of an inch of ice on the Euro ensemble. So still an ice signal showing up. So we need to continue to watch this as we're getting into this weekend. And it actually increases to over a 30% chance, even 40% chance kind of across areas of Virginia, northern North Carolina. So we'll continue to try to figure that one out. Now, moving past that time frame, like this is starting out a week from right now. Okay, what does the pattern look like? Well, it continues to look like we have sort of a reinforcing trough. So the blues and greens you see on your screen, this is a trough that's dropping down into the eastern and central areas of the U.S. This is just continually pumping down cold air from the higher latitudes. Got a little bit of a ridge spike in the west, and we have an opportunity for some energy to kind of ride in between. So we got cold air. Let's strong this a little bit. We got cold air kind of coming down continuously. Okay, so I think it will remain cold as we're getting into early next week. And as we continue to move forward on the Euro ensemble, kind of the trough digs in again. We got more of a spiking ridge, still a big trough over Alaska, which kind of offsets what we're seeing here, but it's still working because of the spiking ridge right here and the blocking that we're now seeing over Greenland. That's a negative NAO, sort of locking a trough in place. So this big area of blue is a dip in the jet, so we continue to have cold air dropping down with the opportunity for some energy. Just because you see a lot of low pressure doesn't mean that we're going to get some type of phasing of a huge storm system, but we most likely will at least get northern stream energy in a look like this. So we could continue to have a little bit of areas of snow here and there with some lake effect snow. Now, we start to move to the middle portion of the month, and the trough is still in place over areas of the eastern U.S., but you can see a little bit of a ridge flex at the end, but I'm not so sure that that's going to happen. But I can tell you here, as we back this up, one thing that the GEFS was showing was it was not buying this trough being in place once we get closer to the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th of December. Now it wants to show it. So now it has a deep trough over areas of the eastern and central U.S. as we move in towards the end of next week. And if you go back and you look at runs prior to this, it wasn't showing that. For example, if you look at the 06Z GFS ensemble from yesterday, 24 hours ago, this is what it was showing for the same time frame. Dang, we don't have it. All right, so we're going to have to just look at the 12Z yesterday. This is what it was showing. More of a ridge over the southern tier of the country. Now it's showing this. So we're having a trend. I think models are adjusting more to a colder scenario across the east because of MJO progression. So that's a wild shift that we're seeing. And the Canadian, well, I don't have the Canadian ensemble. I thought I was showing, I think I had it pulled up and then I decided to do away with it. But in response, the Euro ensemble, as we start out a week from today, remains cold. These colder looking temperatures like the Barney colors, the blues, the greens, and then this lighter shade of blue here. These are colder than average temperatures, just cold temperatures for December standards. Colder than average, and December is probably cold, right, anywhere in the country. So we continue to have the look for colder in the east, warmer in the west, and this pretty much lasts all the way through about the mid-month. And once we get past like 240 hours out, things are going to change dramatically. The big question is are we going to have any energy associated with this? So once again, we start off a week from today, and you see this kind of area. This is the 500 millibar Vort energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere. There's going to be a lot of northern stream energy, I think, diving down with this persistent trough, kind of dropping down from the higher latitudes. The thing is does this connect at all with any southern stream energy? So we got kind of a stream of energy kind of diving down kind of into here, right? But are we going to have any energy kind of coming into here and then a phase happening somewhere and creating a more significant storm system? As we continue, it just looks like a lot of northern stream energy. Okay, and we really just need this trough to dig deeper if you want any kind of winter storm a little bit further south. So we have to just see if that's going to happen. It's going to take time trying to figure out. If we do extend all model guidance further out, we started off about a week from today. It's actually next Sunday the 7th. Well, you can say this coming Sunday now. We got a little bit of snow riding over the Ohio Valley. And as we continue to move forward, that is that northern stream energy I'm talking about. You see that big blob of snow? This is Tuesday of next week, the 9th. And you got southern stream energy down here. You see the rain in the Gulf, but there's no connection between both. So here comes another clipper. We call them clippers, northern stream energy. Here it comes diving down again. All right, here comes some moisture bubbling up at the end of the run. Is there a connection? There is, but the trough is just not diving deep enough to really connect the energy deep enough to provide cold air deep enough for winter weather to be further south. So what about the GFS? Are we seeing anything crazy? Well, if we go all the way out a week from today, it shows a little winter weather for North Carolina next Monday morning, but I don't know. That's kind of weird looking. But as we move past that, we get 10 days from now, about 8 to 9, 10 days from now, northern stream energy. Here's a clipper riding down. No southern stream energy to work with. And there's just, at the end of the day, I don't think this trough is really digging down enough. And I think once we get in the long range of the GFS, it just looks ridiculous, honestly. So what about that MJO progression? Let's see if we have a new update. And let's update this browser. Let's go back down. And yeah, I mean, we don't really have a new update, and that's cool. But I'm honestly just going to focus on this. This is the Euro ensemble. We've been talking on this heavily over the last couple of days, and let's use this and make it a little bit smaller. Phase 6, 5, and 4 are warm phases. Phase 7, Phase 3 are transitional phases, you want to call it. And then Phase 8, 1, and 2 are cold phases. And that brings just more chances at cold air, winter weather. So where are we and where are we heading? Well, right now it's December 1st, so we're in this area right here. December 2nd, you see the 2. So we're heading right towards phase 8, which is the phase we need to introduce, it's not a lock, but to introduce more winter weather chances and cold air chances for areas of the country. Now, you see this circle right here? There's been a lot of chatter about it. It's called the circle of death, or the COD. Now, this is kind of like a low amplified phase. The closer you are to these numbers, the more highly amplified these MJO phases are, the more influence each phase will have on the pattern. So if this kind of goes and gets trapped in what we call the circle of death, which some indicate it does, I call it the confusion of death, because what happens is once this kind of gets into this area, it's a low amped phase of whatever side it's in. So there's not much MJO reflection to the actual weather pattern. So we got to watch it. One thing though I'm encouraged by is we continue to have this look to be in phase 8. Let's just worry about that, and then let's figure out the rest moving forward. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. We'll get back to the Bible devotions tomorrow morning. Appreciate all the support. It's going to be a big week with figuring out what happens as we move into December and how Model Guidance responds to MJO progression. God bless. Have a wonderful start to your week.